Greetings and welcome to Zord Planetary Space Program episode 25. Last time we left our crew on the surface of Dres, and it's now time to get them off the surface, because the window to Eve is opening. But first we need to rendezvous with the rest of the craft in orbit, and well, we have an inclined orbit and no atmosphere. Not quite sure when you need to launch to match up perfectly, so I'm just guessing here. But it looks like it's quite good. We can certainly use this to get ourselves an encounter. Yeah, look, that's pretty much there already. So yeah, there we go. That looks good. Let's just execute this burn. Well, after we warp all the way there, like so. Yeah, we should have launched earlier. The target is way ahead of us. But now we are on an orbit that will bring us quite close. We should correct inclination. Yeah, like that. That's good. We just need to warp one way around the planet, which takes a while due to the low orbit and low time warp. So we just cut ahead. There we go. Now we should pass quite close and be able to get ourselves docked. And indeed we do, coming in here from the back, but with this craft being so agile, should not be a problem at all. And we have quite a lot of RCS, or rather all our different modules have RCS, both the command module and both of the engine modules. So we're just gonna stick this thing on where we took it. How should we orient it? Maybe something like this, I don't know. There we go, easy peasy. So, craft is reassembled. Let's switch the engines back again. And if you want to see how this is done, I can refer you to the last episode where I showed you some of this. For now, we'll just cut ahead because it's really boring. So, we are now going to transfer to Eve. And I prepared the maneuver node off camera because it took quite a while to tweak it to get a perfect encounter. So now we're going to execute the node, and we are going to transfer fuel out to our radial boosters, or radial fuel tanks, because we don't have fuel lines going from the main tank to the radial tanks, because the main tank is intended as cargo. So we just pump out fuel to the external tanks and start the burn. Yeah, as you see, this burn is going to take quite a while. So I begin to suspect we may not have enough fuel. Well, breaking gravity is really easy here, but we're going to have to push our periapsis around the sun down a lot. So I start filling the radial tanks, and I fill them halfway. And well, this is just the larger of the two tanks. So I fill them halfway so that the craft can still compensate for the changed center of mass. And then I fill them all the way out, because we're probably gonna need it. And then just sit and burn, because this is going to take quite a while. But sometime into the burn I realized that the total fuel left in the craft is less than the capacity of the lander plus service tank. So I transfer over all the fuel, drain this tanker bit, and I detach it like this, and now we are rid of all of that extra mass, and we still have the same fuel efficiency as we are still running nuclear engines, and the thrust to weight ratio isn't bad because we lost most of our engines but also lost most of our dead weight. So this is the way we're gonna roll from here. We're going to get to Eve without the tanker. It's going to stay out here in space, in interplanetary space, and nobody's gonna miss it. So we got our encounter, and that the craft is on its way. So let's check up on the tanker we left. So see, yeah, no fuel at all. Let's rename this empty tanker and set it as debris, so that we don't have to deal with it in the tracking station. It's just gonna float around. Maybe somebody will find it later and wonder why they bothered to bring it. So we are leaving Dres, not very difficult, and we are falling towards Eve. I'm going to do a correction burn so that we bring our periapse around Eve down. We already have the encounter, but because we have a high inclination and generally kind of weird orbit, or unusual anyway, we got to do this correction to bring it down a bit more. And I realized that we can actually improve this even more. So see, we're bringing our Eve periapses down. So I spend quite a lot of time here to try and trim this down as much as possible. We still have plenty of fuel, but you know, efficiency. And speaking of efficiency, here's our Laythe plane finally arriving at Jool after almost a year in orbit. So we have done a slight correction to get a Laythe encounter, and now we see that this correction was indeed not at all very good. It gets a Laythe encounter, but it crosses through the surface of Jool first. So we're going to correct this. We're going to correct the correction to get a Laythe encounter on the right side of Jool on our way down. Well, it doesn't have to be, but this is how it's going to work. It's on our way down or on our way up after we've been through the surface. So we execute this correction, and it gets an interesting orbit. As first we have a Laythe encounter and then a Val encounter. But I'm not interested in the Val encounter, I'm interested in a low and good periapsis for Laythe. So that's what we are getting here. So we're changing SOI like so, and here we can see that the inclination is not optimal, so I'm going to correct the inclination. First challenge is to get the maneuver node close to the ship. Well, yeah, works. And then we do the maneuver planning. Yeah, that would take it through the surface of Laythe, not optimal. We need to do some additional adjustments to raise the periapsis once again. And now we do the burn. And just watch the orbits transform from original shape to intended shape. Always quite satisfying. So we learned how to do this last time. We set up a maneuver node with no change and use that as a alarm point so that we don't warp past Tylo's sphere of influence at high speed and get everything messed up. So we have arrived at Laythe, safe and sound. Let's see if we can do a proper capture. We want a periapsis of about 20 kilometers, which I'm going to fix right now. The thing is, I don't know if this is going to work because this craft has lifting surfaces and it has different drag, and I don't even know. So we're simply going to try and see what happens. Worst case scenario, you get to redo it, I guess. So we are, we're falling down through the atmosphere very quickly, and I'm very glad we don't have any kind of deadly re-entry again. And oh yeah, we have air intake. We can switch those on and increase our drag. So yeah, we have the capture now. Good. What orbit are we going to end up on? Well, that's quite an eccentric orbit. We'll see how it solidifies. That's quite a high orbit, and we are a bit inclined. We can fix the inclination. We should fix the inclination right now. So I don't think it's worth it to try and do a circularization from here. Rather, I would like to do more aerobraking. And well, regardless, we're going to have to raise our periapsis. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Because if we go as deep, we are certainly going to land, whether we want to or not. And we do not want to. So let's raise periapsis and go for another aerobraking. I'm not sure what we should put the periapsis on, so I put it at 30. And yeah, the apoapsis barely moves. But it would waste fuel to lower periapsis, which is lowering itself. Let's see how much fuel it would take to... Now that's way too much delta V to circularize by hand. So we're just gonna do this several times over, and I'm gonna cut it because it took a long time. So here we are again. we have done lots of aerobraking, and this time it looks like we're finally getting low enough. I actually need to use the engines to push myself into to push myself to prevent the apoapsis from falling below the target orbit, and then subsequently into the planet, and me shortly after. Or not planet, moon. So, with a little bit of help from our nuclear engines, we managed to do the final aerobraking. And now we need to circularize. This time we're going to actually bring our periapsis up out of the atmosphere because we're done aerobraking. And yeah, as you see, the target station, Delta Station, is on the other side of the moon. So getting there is going to take some time, which I cut away because it was boring. So we are on approach to Delta Station, 1.5 kilometers out, and this is going to be quite dreadful as we are loading very many parts. You remember back in the beginning of the series when I had this huge pile of junk out at Beta Station or on Minmus? Yeah, that pile of junk has resurrected and it's now here. So, this takes a long time. I skip ahead till when something actually happens, which is the docking. This is very exciting because I cannot use the nav ball as we're doing off-center docking. I could use control from here, but nah, I don't like that. And everything is asymmetric and it looks like I'm gonna crash into the solar panel, but everything seems to work out and we have docked! Laythe plane have arrived at Delta Station. I want to see how many parts we have. I want to see how many parts we have. Let me see. Yes! 833 parts. That's good enough, I'd say. So now we need to fuel the plane. And we seem to be out of fuel. Oh, there's plenty of fuel in the small tanker. We'll just use that. And for what, you will maybe see next time. I hope to see you then. Bye!